So this is one of those experiences that like I wasn't sure logistically would work out, but like I really wanted to make work out.
It comes to mind when someone asks me about what Bridge Builders is all about.
Really honored to get to go on the Bridge Builders trip.
The trip really for me just brought a much greater understanding and appreciation for, I think, kind of human life on a greater level.
We were sitting one night after our day of activity, and we do these facilitated dialogues. So we talk about what the day is, you know, what the day consisted of and what we were doing, what the takeaways are. And we were talking about how important it is to really be there and be in the space, should be able to really understand what's going on.
Out of all of the studying that I've done so far, there's nothing that's been quite like it. I've taken a lot of like human rights classes and studied a lot within that field, but I haven't gotten the same experience as I got getting to learn within a community.
And so going to Dupree, it was just very eye-opening, and a lot of it, you know, whole thing about Bridge Builders is place-based learning, and going to Dupree, it's like you really cannot understand or grasp fully, you know, what it's like.
It was fun actually getting to learn my city a little bit outside of what I already knew. Like, I didn't realize how historical St. Louis truly was, even with the impact of the Lakota or the native tribes in this area at the time. Exploring the arch grounds, exploring the cathedral.
And I think that's like my main takeaway kind of the trip, is that like, I don't know how to put it into words, but just like how meaningful just like raw human connection can be, especially with a different culture, and that sort of like how powerful that mutual respect can be.
I think that you can learn better in a place. So that was, I think, one of the like most perfect culminating coming together moments. Like, yeah, there's a thought process here. It isn't just we're here because we think it would be good. We really believe that being in the place that you're learning about is, you know, beyond helpful. It's the thing to do to be able to really understand.
Rather than, you know, hearing about a community and all of the things that they've gone through and all of that from a distance, there's just something different to it once you actually get to go into the community and learn right alongside them. It makes it feel a lot more connected, because it's not us learning about you, it's all of us learning about each other. And I just think that that's super important for education, and especially for a field like human rights or justice or anything surrounding that, because we need to be learning not just about people from a distance, but about our impact on people and the ways that we are connected to one another.
The land up there is very beautiful as well. It was really awesome at night to go out and sit and look in the stars and talk to the people who were on the trip with us about how that day impacted us.
Like the way that culture just seeped into everything, and our culture seeped into things we did, and it was just really fascinating seeing how like that's just who we are, but like at our core not. Like at our core we are all the same, and so it was really interesting seeing in those interactions how things like that would kind of just emerge, and none of it was forced. It wasn't like we were going to like be scholars and really dig into this like research or anything. We were just going as people to see people and hang out with them.
And so to participate in that and have my expectations completely flipped was, I mean, truly, you had to be there to see the difference in expectation versus the reality of the community. That was very just informative. I wouldn't have really understood if I hadn't been there to actually witness it and see it myself.
Because the big thing that I really took away from the trip was that, you know, these are people, you know, they're not like this other.
Traveling to the different parts, such as the White Horse community, it was really peaceful. Just seeing the landscape, you can look for miles and miles and not see, like, you just see rolling hills.
Getting to go to Camp Marrowbone, that was such a great day. Another thing that I have never done, not just because like I haven't been to a community like this, I haven't been immersed in a culture like this, I just never went to summer camp, I never went to sleepaway camp, and so I think there are just a lot of new things coming at me, and a lot of things were related to culture, a lot of things weren't. It was just a lot of new experiences for so many reasons, and it was just, yeah, fascinating in so many ways. And again, it was so fun just interacting with the kids and just like getting to do tie-dye next to them and just sort of like exist on a very like just human level.
And listening to the breeze and the trees, listening to the birds, it was just a peaceful community.
One thing that was so important to me was the focus on community, not just the communities that we were in and participating with and learning beside and learning with, but the communities that traveled with us the entire time. When you're living with people for that long, you really get to know each other, and I could not have asked for a better group. I think it was a great size. We all really had some shared experiences, but also we're coming from very different places.
And so I was really kind of excited to go on this trip with Sky and the great team we had, because it allowed me to see kind of what was actually happening in Native American communities in like the present day, because we had learned so much about, or so much of what we focused on is their past, and I wanted to see, and I was really curious about kind of what the present was like for them.
This trip, I've done a few different like study abroad opportunities, but none of them felt quite as like connected as this trip. And part of the reason for that is getting to study in two different locations, one of which being where I am from. You know, I kind of expected for most of the learning to happen while I was in Dupree, and then come back and kind of, you know, get to see the things that I've grown up seeing. And to some extent, that is what happened. I learned so much while I was in Dupree, but when I came back to St. Louis, there was still so much for me to learn about a place that I've grown up in for years.
And so it sounds kind of like intense to do this 2-week intensive type thing, like going and traveling, but it was really just like so relaxed but so packed. I mean, like we were kept busy, but like in the perfect sense, in the perfect way. Like we were always having something to do, but there was a good like mix of having things to do, but also those things really just being like fun. There was no pressure, and because it was just hanging out with people and talking and getting to know them and getting to know their lifestyles and what's important to them.
And so we were able to come back and through the facilitated dialogues really talk about everything that we've just experienced and everything that we've witnessed throughout the week, and kind of debrief with each other and talk about how it's been impacting us and how we're going to bring that back to us when we're studying in St. Louis.
It's like, you know, we always kind of want to stick Native peoples, I think, in the past. And what Bridge Builders kind of allowed for us to see is that, you know, these are not a static people. This is not a static culture.
That it was challenging. And I think that's something that this trip really highlighted for me, is that learning isn't always going to be easy. There's going to be challenging points, but that's just as important, and that's really what makes learning, and what makes learning important is being able to learn those challenging moments and let that learning take a step further. And doing that within this community, all of us we're going through those more challenging times together.
You know, the most important thing to do isn't whatever I think is right. It's to help communities do what they think is right. It's not to enforce my opinions on other people, but it's to help other people have sovereignty, right? It's to help other people have, you know, the autonomy to live in the ways that they want to live.
It sounds super dramatic, but like it genuinely just like changed my perspective on like a lot of things, and like it changed my perspective on my own life, changed my perspective on like intercultural exchanges, and like sort of like looking at other cultures. Like I guess I've never seen more similarities.
I got to experience and bringing it back to St. Louis and continue to still experience that. And, you know, it's just something